Hi guys, Chris here. So we're off to take a surface scan of the moon. So we've just got a simple 3 booster launch sequence here. I haven't bothered with fairing on the top of the thing. Probably should have. It's quite an ugly thing on top, isn't it, that surface scanner? So picking up lots of speed. So the first stage is fairly simple. I'm going to try to rotate as much as I can, but I don't think I'll be able to manage much. I haven't bothered putting any fins on this. It's just a very simple rocket. So I'm getting quite a lot of atmospheric heating. About to detach the first stage. There we go. So second stage, I've got 3 engines. The 2 side engines are just there to boost me into orbit, and the central engine is going to take me all the rest of the way. So the central engine is having its feed fed to it by the 2 side engines. So the fuel tanks in the side engines will drain to empty, whilst after they've detached, the central fuel tank will still be 100% full, so it can take me as far as possible. Okay, just checking on the fuel levels. Looking good. So I'm going up to the apoapsis now, and then I'll begin my main burn into orbit. So into space. Checking. So I'm quite close. It's not a very high apoapsis. Right, so I'm beginning a burn. There we go. So I just put a little bit of thrust on to begin, and that let me use the thrust vectoring of the engines to maneuver more easily. Now I'm up to full power, and I'm just going to burn up to orbit. Yeah, so I'm using fuel ducts like this to drain side tanks instead of draining fuel from the later stages. Lets you use all of your engines earlier on, so I've actually got more thrust than if I just use the side engines. And you want to be using the central engine, because that's going to be the more fuel efficient engine that you want for later in the mission. So you benefit from that fuel efficiency earlier if you set it up so you use it in this stage too. Okay, see the orbits coming up. So because I'm burning slightly before the apoapsis is moving away. So I'm going to stop accelerating, and I'm going to move up to the peak of the orbit, so I get more fuel efficient burn. I've just gone slightly too far there. Doesn't matter. This is going to be a lot more fuel efficient than if I just kept burning where it was before. See, it's coming up. So there we got an orbit. Now we set target on the moon. Just going to go round until I go to the ascending node. And it's going to change my plane. There we go. So we're on the same level as the moon. I'm just lining up for the maneuver. Okay, let's take the craft around. I'm just using the warp maneuver. The warp maneuver stops you overrunning. It does occasionally break, but it should be okay. Yeah, sometimes when you use warp maneuver, you've got to watch out for this. The time accelerator will keep going. You'll drop down from times 10,000 times accelerator down to times 100 or something, but it'll still be far too fast. Right, so let's line up for the next burn. So I'm going to go about 70 degrees to the orbit of the moon. See the position of the moon to where I am now. So I'm just going to change my course very, very gently until I'm just over the surface. So I can look at the periapsis of the moon and tell me how close I'm going to be when I arrive. So now I'm moving around. So line me up for the maneuver nice and early. It's a bit of a cheat to use time accelerator to stop the movement, but it's a nice, quick, easy way of doing it. Obviously you could do it the slower way, but it doesn't matter. So when you hit the time accelerator, it stops any rotation absolutely dead, which is a nice thing to know. So I've still got fuel in those side tanks. Oh, there's the last of it. I'm just going to throttle down a little bit, detach them. Just watch them spin away. Now throttle back up. Extend the antennae and things, just so it looks a bit prettier. I won't open the scanner. It's a bit too big. I'm worried it'll lopside my course a little bit. I don't know if the weight will be perfectly balanced while it's extended. So you can see the orbits getting pushed out quite quickly now. You'll get quicker and quicker the further out you go. Let's go throttle back and do it a bit slower. There we go, there's my first interaction. Just going to very gently, watching the periapsis, get to my target height. And there we go. Perfect. So let's warp out there. Okay, now I'm going to do another little maneuver. Just going to finesse how I'm going to arrive. So I want to do move into more polar-like orbit. When I did the surface scan of Kerbin, I had to be in a polar orbit for it to work. So I'm thinking it'll probably be the same around the moon. It might not be, but we'll see, won't we? So I'm just going to get a nice strange orbit. That didn't help. Yeah, it's pretty on where it was before. Let's try again. So I just do a simpler one. Let's line up then. Yeah, so if you want to make any big maneuvers like this, like to get 90-degree orbit, a polar orbit, and then it's important to do it nice and early. The later you leave it, the more fuel it'll take. Certainly if you've already arrived in orbit, it's going to take tons and tons of fuel. But if you do it out here, it takes very little. Okay, so let's bring it round. I'm doing this in multiple stages. The hope is that by doing lots of little stages, it'll use less fuel. Now, I'm seeing if I can orientate relative to the planet. Won't let me. Just keep bringing that orbit round. So that's way over 45 degrees. Relatively little fuel to achieve that. So let's bring it round. So the moon's coming up. Right, so I'm about to hit the sphere of influence of the moon. Lots of fuel left. Ooh, it's got a specific orbit I've got to be into. Ah, typical. Actually wants me on the equator. So all that manoeuvring I just did was complete waste. Which way round's the orbit? It's nothing worse than getting 180 degrees off. Yes, so I would have been going the wrong way. So it's good that I did that maneuver. So I actually have to go 180 degrees to the direction I would have been before. Yeah, I have to go all the way around like this. Again, you want to do this maneuver nice and early. Further away from the target, the more fuel efficient it'll be. There we go. Let's line up and do the burn. So the orbit's probably going to go through the planet while I'm en route. The periapsis is coming right there. Yeah, there you go. So if I cut throttle now, I'd hit the planet. And up it comes again. And I reach my target. There we go. So now I think I'll move up to periapsis. I'm still a little bit off. Might do a little bit of a finer burn. It's not letting me plot a maneuver for some reason. Ooh, look at that. And nearly in the eclipse of Kerbin. That would have been embarrassing, since I'm solar powered. Right, so I'm going to go into the Space Center and go back in. The reason for this is I'm just not able to make a course plot. Let's see if I can correct that. No, it won't let me. I don't know why that's happening. So let me do a manoeuvre up there, but it won't let me do it on this bit. Ooh, that's annoying. Luckily I'm not too far off my final position. I think I'll just do it by hand. Yeah, there you go. It's a tiny little manoeuvre. And then I can do a forward manoeuvre as well and correct the periapsis height. No, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. Don't burn at 180 degrees from your target destination. There we go. Just going to bring it up until it lines up. Still a little bit off, but doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm at the periapsis now, so now I do a retrograde burn to bring me into orbit. Well, I have an orbit. It's slightly skewed. I'm just going to move the periapsis around for doing this. So if you burn at 90 degrees, you can move the orbit around. That's fairly close there. Just change the height slightly. I'm just going to line up the periapsis perfectly. See, just rotating the orbit and shifting the entire orbit round rather than extending it or retracting it. Lots of fuel left. I think I've actually got far too much fuel in this mission. Extend our scanner. Let's start it off. Look at our electricity. Oh, I'm actually in the shadow. So I'm not going to get any power for a while. And I just drained it all away. Don't do that. The scan will continue, hopefully, when I leave the shadow of the moon. There you go. So I can see the density of ore on the planet. Yes, we just have to get into orbit. So I'm just going to use the warp here function. Then I'm going to use a prograde burn just to bring the other side of the orbit a little bit. There we go. A little bit of thrust. You see it's beginning to line up. There we go. So I've just got the tick on the mission. I just have to hold that course for 10 seconds and I'll get the contract complete. More importantly though, I've got the beautiful map of the ore and the planet. So it means if I ever want to do a mission to the moon and set up a mining base, it'd be nice and easy now. All the data's going to be sitting there in orbit. I mean, this satellite's going to stay there, so if I ever need this information, I'll be able to come back to this satellite and get it. And yeah, you can see that all the best ore is naturally in the hardest to get to places. You don't really want to go on the dark side of the planet. Get your ore, and there's lots of ore there, typically. Also, it's places that are very mountainous. All the hard places to land. That's actually quite annoying. Yeah, there's none of the flatter places have lots of ore.